Hello, everybody. This is Paul with the Raw Life Health Show, and I'm so excited about my next guest. This is John Kohler. What's up, John?
What's up, Paul? How's it going, man?
Good, good, good. For those of you that know John, and don't know him, he has amazing YouTube channels, and he's been eating a raw vegan diet as long as I have been, and he's just great videos and great channels. And we're going to talk about a controversial topic today that me and John believe it needs to be spoken about. So, John, first tell everybody hello and what you've been up to since you were last on the show.
Hi, Paul. I don't know. I've been doing all the same stuff I normally do. I make videos, I garden, I do a lot of juicing. Today I was planting eggplants, okra, and peppers out in my garden today. I travel a bunch. I get fruit hauls. You can always see what I'm up to by following me on Instagram at Growing Your Greens.
Okay, I'll put all your contact information below the video. Now, this is going to be an interesting video, everybody, because there's not many people in this world that eat the way John and I eat. And even then, I mean, for another time, we can talk about it because John no longer eats the way I eat. I mean, we never ate 100% exactly anyway, but we both consider ourselves 100%, whereas John would always say 99.9% raw vegan. But the point being is we're both very careful about what we put in our bodies. And we see a lot of people in the raw vegan community today talk about what they're doing. And John and I learned a lot from our mistakes. We've learned a lot from other people's mistakes. I wrote a book with interviews with people who have been eating a raw vegan diet for 20 years, and that was over 20 years ago. And some of them are still doing it, but some of them are dead. And so we learn a lot. But John and I want to talk about a common, I don't want to call it a mistake, but a common thing people are doing today. We don't, from our experience, think it's the wisest thing people should be doing. And that is the amount of fruit people are eating on this raw vegan diet or this raw vegan lifestyle. Now, John, what has your been experience with fruit eating on your path of when you first was raw to now? And are you completely against eating fruit? How much fruit do you eat now? And what's your take on this subject?
So first off, peace, love, and seasonal fruit. Most important, I'm not going to bash fruit. I'm not here to tell everybody fruit's bad, don't eat fruit. It's got fruit sugar. No, I'm not going to say that at all, Paul. What I will say is that we could be wise about eating fruit, or we could be unwise about eating fruit, right? Hey, if you're eating a fruit-based diet, that's great. But the main thing for me, and probably Paul also, is we want you to make sure you get enough vegetables in. Don't neglect the vegetables because you just eating the fruit, because a lot of modern raw food teachers online, most of them anyways, are saying eat high fruit diet. And Paul and I have both seen over the years, high fruit diet people may not have the best health outcomes in the long run. Now, the other thing that I'll say also is that both Paul and I got into raw foods because of health opportunities. And a lot of you guys may be watching, might be just an athlete or a runner and all these things. But, if you want good long-term health, you got to get the vegetables in.
Yeah, I do see people that are eating a higher fruit diet having more success if they're fit. But I also see a lot of people switch to a raw vegan diet that aren't fit or interested in fitness. So I do see a little difference in the type of lifestyle people have. Those that do more calisthenics or more long distance cardiovascular exercise or even muscle building exercise, they have a little bit more success in the long run with eating more fruit than the average sedative person that thinks, well, I could maybe even just do yoga or something that's not as exhausting on the body, and a little bit more sedative type exercises, running into problems sooner with a lot of fruit. And yeah, have you seen that at all, the fitness versus the non-fit people and the fruit eating, or have you seen any differences of the type of people that are doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that overall, Paul. The more you work out, the more calories you can consume from fruit without having the maybe as negative effects. Once again, everybody has a fruit balance is what I would say. What is your fruit balance? Some people could have a higher fruit balance and tolerance, and especially when you're younger, as Paul I both know, we had a higher fruit tolerance and we could handle our fruit much better. It's like some people have a alcohol tolerance. They can handle a lot of drinks before they even feel buzzed, right? Like I don't recommend drinking or nothing, but you know, there's also a fruit tolerance. So you want to moderate that throughout your life. You know, I mean, maybe when you're younger, you could do more fruit like Paul and I did, but now that I'm a little bit more mature, I mean, Paul still works out hard. Like I don't work out as hard as I used to back in the day, but you know, we also want to balance our calories. And yes, right, fruit has more calories than vegetables. You got to eat a lot more vegetables to get the same calories from it. And also, you know, as I'm getting more mature, I find I need less food to eat. So that's another good reason to eat more vegetables, and then I can eat less fruit because once again, vegetables have less calories. And more importantly, the vegetables have things in it that the fruit doesn't have, like, you know, more phytonutrients and different kinds of fiber.
Well, here's something interesting. I'm great friends with Dr. Fred Bischy, who's 93 years old, and he's been doing this for 60 years. And I'm not knocking fruit, people. I want you to understand that. You probably find nobody in the world that loves fruit and investigating fruit and growing fruit more than I do. I just love everything about fruit. And even when I was younger, I loved like durian. When I first heard of it, nobody knew really what it was. And I went to Asia just to eat fresh durian. And now it's become quite normal to do that, but back then nobody was doing stuff like that. So I understand obsession with fruit. I get it. And I think in Genesis 1:29, our creator gave us the fruits for our food. But what's interesting is not only do we eat less now, but I asked Dr. Bischy, you know, there's a difference between 100% raw vegan and eating some cooked food. And what I found, Dr. Bischy said, you can't really do 100% raw vegan diet and leave out fruit completely. And a lot of people don't understand that. You need some fruit in there, because if you're just eating raw vegan, where are you going to get your calories from if you're not eating any cooked food, any starches or anything like this? So now if you're eating a mostly raw diet, yeah, you could eat some starch, you could eat some grains, you could some other things and make up for it. But where are you going to get if you're 100% raw vegan diet? So what do you say to something about that? I mean, what's your opinion?
So these days, Paul, I mean, as much as I'm a raw foodist to the core, you know, I mean, that's what I grew up with, you know, and that's what I lived for like 27 or I don't know, 25 years. And now I'm eating some small amounts of heat processed foods. It's usually water cooked or water heat processed. So it's usually in an instant pot is how I heat process my food. And it's allowed me to increase my vegetable consumption and more importantly, you know, displace some of the fruit consumption in favor of higher quality food. Because it's not just about fruit versus vegetables, is what's the quality of the food you're eating? You know, are you just buying fruit from the store and hey, it like garbage fruit from the store that's low quality? Now, you know, I know a lot of you guys are still buying fruit from the store, and I'm not going to say, you know, you're screwed if you can only get fruit from the store. Because here's the thing, guys, do the best you can. I mean, I just did a whole big shopping haul. I posted on Instagram today. Like I bought $22.50 of fruit from the store. Half of it was organic, half of it wasn't. Actually, more than half was organic, half it wasn't. It was like over 40 pounds of fruit for $22.50. But I'm still buying it from the store. But also early in the week, you know, I picked kumquats from my tree, ate them. I also went to a local farm and picked apricots off their trees so I could eat them too. But here's the thing. When I could grow vegetables, especially in the wintertime in my garden, I have abundant vegetables, well, I eat all my vegetables. I'm not going to say more than I could eat, but I have a lot of vegetables. I would rather eat my vegetables that I grew in my garden because I know the process. I know the nutrients in it. Even if I cook them, you know, to eat them, instead of just buy some apples from the store that have been in cold storage for 6 months and degrading in nutrition. Like, and I'm not going to make the decision for you guys, but that's what I choose to do. I believe that to be more beneficial. And I don't believe that just because I'm cooking it now, it's totally garbage and it's gross. You know, I would agree that the ways many people cook foods by baking, frying, high temperature cooking could be really problematic, carcinogenic, and create toxic food. But I would personally believe that by steaming and using a water cooking method where I'm keeping the temperatures ultra low, you know, it barely impacts the food. Because as a raw foodist, that's what I've learned. As a raw foodist, we're so concerned about what is the process? How are you processing your food? We got to keep the temperature low, but there's a lot of other things in raw foods that you can do, like use a blender and you massacre some of the antioxidant compounds due to all the oxygenation. In addition, there's studies that show like dehydrated food for a long time at a low temperature, while you might keep enzymes, you're destroying a lot of the antioxidant properties. So, you know, I would rather actually, instead of dehydrate these days, actually, that's a whole nother video I'm going to make, where I would rather basically steam things in the Instant Pot for a short time instead of dehydrate things for a long time to eat them. Because number one, dehydrated food is dehydrated. It's going to dehydrate you, and my food cooked in water is water rich. Anyways, that's another topic we could just
yes, focus, man, focus. So wait, so let's talk about the good and the bad of fruit. Like, let's talk about the good and the bad of what we've learned over the years. So let's do the good. What are the good things you've learned about fruit over the years?
I mean, fruit's an amazing food. It is full of phytonutrients, vitamins, minerals, you know, different compounds, fibers in the fruits. I mean, it just tastes good. I mean, it has some, you know, sweetness in there. I mean, my vegetables could also taste sweet too, but you know, fruit's just so satisfying. It is so easy to eat. I mean, if I'm out in a pinch, man, and I'm like traveling somewhere, I'm not going to just buy a head of kale and start eating it. That's nuts. I'm going to buy a couple bananas and just peel them and eat them in the car. You know, it's like it's super easy and super convenient. So I'm not going to like say fruit's bad, but I'm going to say, you know, you got to make sure you get your vegetables in.
Sure. And I just did a video with somebody else talking about the vegetables offsetting any negative things of the fruit, because you're getting all those, all the nutrients of the vegetables that are helping offset the fructose as the chemistry in the body and everything else. It was very interesting. And learning about these things. Now, if somebody would have told me anything negative about fruit when I got into this, I would have said they don't know anything about health. But I always remember Dr. Bischy telling me about the fruitarians, or the people that overate on fruit, were the issue. He never knocked fruit, but he said there are people, old timers, I'm talking real old timers, like in the raw food diet, some of the natural hygienists at first were just overeating on a lot of fruit. And he realized it was a problem because of the blood gases and the chemistry and the way things work. So overeating is the real culprit, not fruit. But now let's look at the negative side of fruit. It's so good, it's easy to overconsume, right? And most of the fruit that's bought today is store-bought, which isn't picked ripe. A lot of it's flown from halfway around the world, and it's just not like the fruit that really nature was intended to be even eaten. It's just, I go to the store now and I see things like jackfruits and passion fruits, and they're like hard as a rock. And I'm like, no wonder why people taste these and they say, oh, this is terrible and I don't like this. And then and I go home and I see a ripe jackfruit on my tree, and I'm like, these poor people are so deceived to think that. And I know people in New York that say, oh, they never tasted a mango, or they just tasted one and they don't like it. I'm like, it's such a difference between what people are getting and what we can get. And but the problem is, if you overdo vegetables, what are you going to do? Be in the bathroom longer? If you overdo fruit, you can have a problem. And I first learned about fruit being an issue from Dr. Brian Clement at Hippocrates Health Institute, which doesn't even have fruit in their program. And this is a raw food health institute that's probably done more studies on sick people than any other place in the world. And they're against the fruit. And I'm not completely against fruit and everything else. I eat a good amount of fruit, but they have some pretty good studies to show that it's not the best thing, especially if one's already diagnosed with an illness and so on, because even though it's natural sugar, it still has fructose that can ferment, and also things can thrive off it, like cancer and other things, right?
I mean, I'd agree with you, Paul. Another thing that's also coming to light in my eyes as of recently is we got to feed our microbiome. And I mean, I made a video recently, 20 things you could do to build your microbiome on my OK Raw channel. But the thing is, if you eat too much fruit and you limit your varieties and have like mono meals like every day, like, oh, I have 3 mono meals, one of bananas, one of apples, and one of, I don't know, papayas every day. You're eating 3 different plant foods, which is great. That's a lot more than probably most Americans, you know, because they're whole plant foods. But like, you want to get a greater diversity, because a greater diversity of different foods, including more than just fruits and vegetables, like beans, nuts, and seeds, grains, even mushrooms, are very important, so we could have a more robust microbiome. And, you know, it's microbiome is correlated with your health. I mean, if you don't have a healthy microbiome, you are not as likely to, or a diverse microbiome, you're not as likely to survive, you know, if you have cancer, according to some of the studies that are out there, you know, that they're publishing. So it's like, I want to have a healthy microbiome. So, I mean, a greater diversity and eating more different kinds of foods, including a lot of different kinds of vegetables, are critical. And let's not forget that vegetables have a lot of different compounds that are anti-cancer, help with stage 2 liver detoxification, for example. You know, in some raw food camps, they don't eat cruciferous vegetables because they don't believe in them and they think they're toxic.
Yeah, what's your message to people that might see this or hear the message like this and say, well, these guys are knocking fruit. They have no idea what they're talking about and all this. First of all, we're not knocking fruit, but just the way we're talking, they completely disagree. They say, oh, I've been doing fruit for 5 years and I feel amazing. What would be your message to somebody like that?
I mean, the thing is this, like, I've been doing raw food since 1995. So that's like, what, 27 years now? Like, I've been around the block. And when I was younger, I did do more fruit. So, I mean, probably my message is that we want, just don't forget about the vegetables, guys. Like, I mean, I just drank a juice, you know, and if you got to juice your vegetables, like I drink a green juice, it's this big every day.
Yeah.
Every day of green juice. And it's basically I mean, I post on Instagram what it's in there usually. It's usually, this week, it's mostly romaine, kale, parsley, ashitaba stalks, and maybe some cucumbers and celery. You know, and that's like gets me basically 4 pounds of vegetables in me before I even eat my fruit meal. And actually, there's some studies out there that suggest right when you wake up in the first thing in the morning, the better thing for you is not to have a high fruit meal or a sugary meal, but have more of a vegetable-based meal, which could be better overall. And then, yeah, after your vegetable juices out of the way, yeah, go for the fruit.
Yeah, a lot of raw foodists don't realize this, or people don't realize this is fruit. I used to laugh at the idea that when about cholesterol, right? So, like, I remember when I first found durian, I was eating durian, and somebody said, "Oh, that's high in fat, so you could raise your cholesterol." And I'm like, saying, "Oh no, fruit can't raise cholesterol. It's not animal product. It can't raise cholesterol." And that was just talking about fat, because like in the durian, the fat and the sugar, not even talking about the sugar. But then I started to see and hear people like fruit like can raise your cholesterol, and did more research and found out there's a direct connection between high cholesterol of the bad kind and fruit eating, too much fruit eating. And I was like shocked, and I was like, wow. And it was a common thing, not just with myself or with others. And when I cut back on the fruit, their cholesterol came down, and it was quite a big surprise. Yeah.
I had the same thing happen, Paul. Actually, you can see my blood test I just posted maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago. My cholesterol was like super high. My triglycerides were really high. And I'm like, man, I'm plant-based. It's not supposed to happen. And then I changed 2 things in my diet. The 2 things I changed in my diet was, number 1, cut out the dried fruit. Hey, I know we love fruits, and like, hey, fruit's good, so dried fruit is even better, so I could eat more concentrated fruit. And then also cut out the saturated fat, as in the coconut products. I did that for just like literally 30 days, Paul, and boom, my next blood test, which also posted online, like my numbers were right where they should be. So once again, I love fruit. I still eat plenty of fruit, but you know, you gotta, once again, you gotta find your fruit balance. And for, especially if you're younger, you could do more, but I would encourage everybody out there to minimize the dried fruit consumption you're eating, and, you know, try to get more vegetables in. Especially, I mean, juicing is a great way, because now literally 4 pounds of vegetables could be like, you know, I don't know, 400 calories in one meal. And now you got the vegetables out of the way. It's an easy way to do it, so you're not sitting there and chewing on leaves all day. But then I also eat, you know, today I also had another container full of this, which is like about over 1.5 pounds of vegetables in a salad that I, you know, pre-make and save in the jars as well.
Yeah, something I do. I mean, yeah, I love my Moringa trees. The value of the Moringa, it's so great. And I remember years ago, you came to my house and you were like making Moringa powder.
Yeah.
And now I do that like on a weekly basis. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. Why did I wait so long to do something like this? And you're getting it, you know, it's just absolutely amazing. But I remember when I first moved to this property, it's about a 1/4 acre. I just wanted to plant coconut trees. I was going to have the whole house was going to be just coconut trees. I was thinking, I love coconut. I love the meat. I'm easily would have 7 to 10 coconuts a day easily. And that's the water. The meat, maybe half of that. But easily in smoothies and just in general drinking them. And I was like, wow. But I ended up planting like 5 or 6, maybe 7 coconut trees. And I planted a whole bunch of other fruit. And I'm so glad I did, because they weren't easy to get rid of. But what happened was the trees kept growing. They were supposed to be dwarf trees, but they kept growing taller and taller and taller until it was getting to be a lot of work. I would make videos, you need to work for your food, but it was getting to be a lot of work and dangerous work to get these coconuts down. And I was like, and then I started to look at my cholesterol and things. And I remember talking to Dr. Bischy. He's like, well, how much coconut water you drinking? And there's sugar in coconut water. And he's like, how much coconut meat are you having and all this stuff? And I was like, I didn't think it was bad or anything like that. And, you know, when I think about how much fruit I used to eat compared to now, and actually I have more fruit available to me now, and I just eat less. And I'm like, today I had a table full of mangoes. I had at least, I don't know, 10 or 15 mangoes, and I ate, I think, 2 or 3, and they're smaller mangoes. And I was fine. I was fine. The other day I had a jackfruit. In the old day, I would have sat and I would have ate that whole jackfruit with no problem. And I just ate not even a less than a quarter of it, and it was fine. And it was like, so I understand people that are new to this, the excitement, the food tastes so amazing and so on. I once went to a mutual friend's house of ours in California that had persimmons, and I hadn't seen persimmons in years, and I love persimmons, and I almost embarrassed to say how many I ate. And now the answer is, how to even survive, let alone say I was eating a raw vegan diet. So I guess I'm on here, and I wanted to have you on here just to not tell people to stop eating fruit, just to warn people about, you know, even though it's a superfood, you know, you don't want to overdo it, you know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You don't want to overdo the fruit. And once again, you got to find your own balance. You know, once again, like Paul, you know, I used to just eat lots more fruit than I did, but I'm like, man, I should have been eating a lot more vegetables back then. So, you know, you don't have to go super crazy extreme. Maybe eat 1 or 2x less pieces of fruit. Drink, once again, a vegetable juice, or make a green-based smoothie. Even if you just have blended bananas, and instead of using 30 bananas and dates, put like 5 bananas, a whole thing of kale, and a few less dates. That'll get you more greens in you, guys. Like, it really makes me sad when I see a lot of these what I eat in a day YouTube raw food videos from new people that have been into raw foods for a short amount of time. It's like fruit meal, you know, fruit juice.
Yeah.
And then they have like a salad at night, but it's like cucumbers and tomatoes. There's like no greens. Hey, cucumbers and tomatoes are vegetables, but I consider them non-sweet fruits, because we really need something more like broccoli, or like, I don't know, man, like we need the greens.
Or even moringa, right?
Yeah, a moringa. Like,
yeah.
I love how you do it, Paul. Like, you dry your moringa, so now it's more concentrated. So now you can actually eat a little bit less and get all the power from it, basically, minus the water. So, yeah, and I've been doing, you know, green powders forever, but I prefer fresh. Of course, freshest is best, is what I always like to say as well.
Yeah, and I got the gatuk and just all the edible greens. They're so amazing. And the thing is, so a lot of people say, well, you guys can grow your own stuff. We don't have that option. You know, I could tell people from a fruit standpoint, you could buy fruit right from the farms. And I give websites out all the time for people to do that, where you don't have to rely on store-bought fruit if you are going to eat it. And then when you know you're buying it from the farm and it's from them, you know you're getting stuff that truly is in season, because they don't have stuff growing out of season like they do. Like right now in Australia, it's beginning winter. And like when you speak to somebody there, you're like, what? We're getting ready to go into summer. But then the fruits that are here and vice versa are opposite as well. So, you know, so fruits are supposed to be seasonal. You're not supposed to be having them 100% of the year, but you can have them most of the year, I'm learning as well. So then there's fruits like avocados. So from a raw food standpoint, what's your opinion about the avocado fruit?
I love avocados. I mean, they're kind of more of a vegetable than a fruit, but we don't want to overdo the avocados. I mean, healthy fats are good for us, but you could go too far. I mean, when I was younger, and I'm sure as you did too, Paul, I mean, I could get like 6 avocados and just eat them straight with some dulse or something. And nowadays, you know, I think there'd be a random day where I might eat 2 or 3 or something in a recipe or something, but I don't eat them like I used to.
Yeah, I remember when I went to Singapore the first time, I sat down and I ate in a row 7 durians. 7 durians. And it was like I mean, I probably still could with durian for that, but that's the trap. That's the trap. So I don't eat fresh durian. I don't get fresh durian. So let's say me and you took a trip to Thailand and they had beautiful fresh durian. You and I here talk about not overeating would probably sit down and just be like gorging on this, be like, wow, this is amazing, and making a video and stuff. And then we realize I think we overate. So that's a trap. We got to be careful. It's like emotional reasons people overeat and these things. But just ask yourself, everybody, you know, what are you doing and why? You know, like, you know, it's okay to eat fruit, but I used to see people, you know, like they literally would have to go to a farmer's market and leave with like a, what do they call those? Those not a pallet, the things you wheel this heavy stuff on. They like literally wheel boxes.
Dolly.
Yeah, Dolly literally wheel boxes of fruit to their car. And I'm like, is this market like once a month? They're like, no, we'll be back next week. And I'm like, that's eating all that in a week. And it's like, wow, you know, it's crazy. It's just crazy. But, you know, we understand, everybody. We just, so what do people eat instead of fruit? You say vegetables. I mean, vegetables aren't going to have the same calories and stuff. So like, what would you tell yourself now from like that person back then, from like what you should be eating? Like how many meals a day do you eat now?
I mean, I can tell you what I ate today, for example.
All right, what do you eat today?
So today first thing I had was I had about 500 milliliters of water, half a liter of water. Second thing I had was a 32-ounce green juice. And then the third thing I had another juice. It's basically a vegetable-based juice with a few apples in there for sweetness. So it was like red cabbage, beets, carrots, red carrots, jicama, and then lemon and apples in there. Another 32-ounce juice. And then after that, I had one mini watermelon, like the whole thing. That's about 3 pounds of watermelon, less the rind I didn't eat that I used the rind to catch bugs in my garden. Then after that, I had a half of a papaya, a pretty nice sized papaya. So, you know, I eating some fruit. And I don't know how much the papaya weighed, but it was only half of it. And then I had this, and this is like a winter melon. That's kind of like more like a squash than a vegetable, because it's like eating the white part of the watermelon. So it's basically winter melon with cucumber and a little bit of pineapple. And yeah, and then maybe some lemon in there for some antioxidants. And then I forgot. Then I also had like another quart of this stuff as like my vegetable meal. So it's like 1.10 ounces, I think, a little bit over 1.5 pounds of just basically all kinds of vegetables from my lettuce, greens from my garden, cabbage, and then like a tangerine nut seed dressing. And then
so you actually had a good amount of fruit, and actually you did a lot in juicing form, but you just had I'd say a normal amount of fruit, more fruit than probably the average American eats on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, I did had a whole small watermelon, then a half of papaya, and then I had some fruit inside my juices.
Yeah.
But usually my juices are with vegetables with a little bit of fruit.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, so you know, it's and you used to do a lot more than that when you were young, when you was getting.
Oh man, I'd have like crazy ass mono meals of just like, I mean, a small watermelon would have done. I would have done like 2. I would have ate maybe like 2 papayas, not just a half of a papaya, you know. But so the thing I would tell my younger self, Paul, is make sure, John, you get those vegetable juices in, especially a green juice a day, and then another vegetable-based juice. So I like to do root juices, because root juices are very good source of calories. And it's also how many raw foodies you know just eat a bag of carrots. Like I would never eat a bag of carrots. I don't even think I've ever eaten a bag of carrots. But when I juice the carrots, you know, I mean, I have a video why I would rather drink carrot juice instead of eat bananas, and some fruitarians think I'm crazy because they would never rather do carrot juice. They'd rather eat bananas. But on paper, even, you know, the carrot juice is so much more nutritious with all different kinds of, you know, plant phytonutrients than bananas are. And also, you know, juice is a lot easier to digest than bananas.
So are you taking any supplements? Are you taking any supplements these days?
Oh yeah, I have a whole thing of supplements. Like you, Paul, I take the astaxanthin, just a different brand, although I have the one you take sometimes. I take enzymes, I take like basically what is it, like algae, or actually microalgae, like phytoplanktons. I take a couple different herbs, yeah. B12.
Yeah. Well, good, good. And your blood work is the final measure, everybody, of what you're doing, if it's working for you. So I want to encourage everyone who's eating some type of a raw food diet or a vegetarian diet, or any diet, even if you stand American diet watching this for some reason, go get your blood work checked and see if it's okay. Now there's a problem though, because some people might be eating too much fruit and get their blood work checked and everything might come out okay. So, so what would you say in a case like that?
So I would say then you're more tolerant of fruit and you handle your fruit better. Like some people handle their alcohol better, like the analogy I gave. But just because you're handling your fruit better doesn't mean you should necessarily neglect your vegetables. I mean, if you're basically eating no leafy greens a day, like my goal every day is eat 2 pounds of leafy greens and just drinking one juice, I'm already freaking far exceeding that. And it's like a lot of raw food is don't eat even any greens, and I think that's just really sad, and you're setting yourself up for long-term failure, and then stuff is going to avalanche and things are just not going to be as easy to fix later on by making some small corrections now. And yes, I have a video, Paul, if somebody wants to get blood tests and of a doctor they could see. I have a video on how I got blood tests for as low as $5 plus a draw fee on my channel, so that people could check some of their basic statistics and make sure they're in line, especially, your triglycerides and also your blood sugar levels, A1C, and some of the inflammatory markers that I talk about, and see how you're doing, and if it's not good, make adjustments. Don't just like, oh, I'm eating all this fruit, it's good because these guys that I follow on YouTube say eat all this fruit and you're going to be fine. Maybe it's not fine for you. I mean, when I did my last blood test, it told me like I had some challenges, and I thought, oh, I'm eating good, I eat healthy, but no, it wasn't good enough for my body.
Yeah, I just realized I could put the camera like this. I should have had it like this all the time, side by side, but it's all good. But yeah, I remember, it's just people got to figure out what's going to work for them. But when I first got into this, I wrote my book interviewing people that have been eating a raw diet for a long time to start to learn something or try to learn from them, and just want to pass along that information now to people. I remember when I got my skin cancer tumor on my back, because when I was a teenager, I got stabbed in the back and I pulled out the stick and it didn't heal up correctly. And then I got diagnosed with skin cancer after I'd been a raw vegan for years. And then people saying, well, you're not doing something right in your diet. And it didn't necessarily have much to do with my diet, but maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But the thing is, when you see YouTube and you see people that are doing this, just have an open mind, but at the same part, just understand everyone's in a different situation and you got to do what works best for you.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that, Paul, that's I know we didn't really talk about, but I know it's important for you now. It's been important for me, is the quality of the food or the fruits and vegetables people are eating. So what's been your experience, Paul? Because I started my YouTube channel teaching people how to grow greens, vegetables, and even fruits on my YouTube channel. I have over 1,600 videos, and you're quickly catching up with my videos with your Fruitful Trees channel, teaching people about growing their own fresh fruit. What's your thoughts on the quality? Because you never really thought it was super important. I mean, I know I visited you years ago and helped you put in a garden, and you're like, then you started to understand.
Until I grew food, I didn't know what real food was, basically, and it's such a day and night difference in the quality of the food you're eating and the way it tastes and so on. And I ate my first food off a tree when I was 20 years old. It was in San Francisco, California. It was a grapefruit. So I went 20 years of my life without having any fruit directly from a tree. And then I started foraging, like just food everywhere and all over the place, and just found figs growing on trees in front of doctor's office in Brooklyn, and found out Brooklyn used to be fig orchards and all this amazing stuff. But then progress until I finally got my own house and I planted an ackee and jackfruit tree and starfruit tree, and still not knowing about trees and the quality of the food. John came to my house and put a garden in, and it was like a fun experiment. But it's when you really dial in and you just really like, it's just such an amazing difference now when you get to know the plants and the trees and how to do it. And it's just, it's like a great example of life, how like a teenager, you think you know everything, but you really know nothing. And then in the mid-20s, you just enjoy everything, but you really don't know why you're enjoying it or anything. But then later on in life, everything comes full circle and you're like, wow, now I understand. And it's just a beautiful thing. And that's where I am now with, which I've always loved trees and I've loved fruits, but it was just more for, you know, an addictive to feed my sugar addiction. But now it's like, no, I want to get to nutrition. That's why I would pick a moringa tree over a mango tree or something, because it's going to do a lot more for my body. And you know, and that's speaking with somebody who has a ton of mango trees. But you know, it's a great learning experience, and I want to pass that along to people and let people know that as well. And yeah, so I know somebody's thinking, probably watching, it's like, yeah, well, what do you live? If you don't want to eat the fruit, I will. I didn't say I don't eat the fruit. I just I just do everything different. I take my time now with it. But I would say the quality of the food, and then the quality of the sleep and exercise are three things that are very missed in people's eagerness to just live according to a label. And it's important to follow these things. Very important. So yeah. And I'm just learning, and I'm eating less now than I've ever eaten before in my life. And I have to laugh sometime when people say, well, you know, I look too skinny or I look malnourished or something. And I just have to laugh. And it's like somebody says, oh, look at his videos from years ago and look at them now and how much worse he looks and everything else. You know, and somebody once said, I probably can't ride a bike. I have no energy and everything else. And when I think about like how much I do, and then when people say these things, I just got to put all aside and say, I was once there and I thought I knew what people looked like and stuff. And it's quite interesting. But I appreciate John for his videos and what you're doing. And I learn a lot from your videos, and I watch your videos probably more than the average person. And I learn a lot. You know, I've been John's #1 fan for a long time. I'm telling you, man. I mean, you know, I know your juicing videos are the best videos. Your discount juices and the OK Raw. I just love the stuff you have on there. And I kid you not, I probably see more of your videos than most people alive. But that's because I've known you that long, you know, and stuff. And of course, I like studied your gardening ones so much because this is what I do now. But keep up the good work with that. And I'm going to put all your videos below here, all your links to your YouTube channels. And you're on Instagram. You do some really cool posts on Instagram. So that's cool. And yeah, any final words about this fruit thing?
I mean, probably my final words, Paul, is #1, thanks for being my biggest fan. I also watch your videos too, because you know you have a different angle than I do, a little bit different. But you know, once again, I trust your experience, right? And I wish your raw foods channel got a lot more views, because it deserves more views than, you know, some, you know, hot chick that's been doing raw foods for 2 years that looks good or whatever, with, you know, telling people to eat more fruit, because you have a lot of wisdom, as do I. Okay. So on the fruit topic, I think the #1 thing is we want to be concerned about not overeating fruit, but eat enough fruit. Once again, your balance is different than maybe Paul's and mine's, depending on how much you exercise. The other thing that Paul and I both agree with is that we want you guys to source the highest quality fruit, because people don't understand. I mean, when you pick yourself off the tree, you're controlling the ripeness that you get to harvest it at. But when you grow your own trees, right, you get to control the variety you plant. Paul knows the differences variety could make in mangoes, like tremendously. Either like it could be, the variety could be grown for sweetness, it could be grown for more nutrition. There's so many reasons why things are grown, and usually when things are being sold for profit, it's because it may ship well and travel well, but may not be the best. Like Paul would probably gag on mangoes, like Kent mangoes from the store, which I just bought and I'm eating, and Paul would be like, John, that's not food. What are you doing? But I can't get good mangoes here. You got to send me some mangoes, Paul.
I would throw it away. I would literally, I would take, not even, I would just probably throw it away. I mean, I can't even do that.
Anyways, I got good apricots. You don't got good apricots. Anyways, so it's all.
You got actually loquats.
I got good loquats. They're
Yeah.
going to be here soon. But anyways, there's so many factors that you can control. You can control the fertilizer being used, and that's a whole nother video unto itself. The fertilizers aren't properly balanced. You can have really unbalanced fruit with different nutrient profiles than they should. A lot of the foods you're buying, the fruits you're buying has been stored, especially apricots. My recent Instagram post is apricots, peaches, and nectarines. If they're stored too cold, they can get cold damage, then they get mealy, insipid, and they're just never sweet because they're picked too unripe. They're not gonna have as much nutrition that could form, at the peak ripeness stages. Yeah, there's so many reasons why you guys should grow your own. If you guys can't grow your own, that's all right. I can't be like John and Paul, I don't have land. Dude, grow some sprouts and microgreens. You can do that inside, so at least that's going to get you some more greens in you, and those are more valuable greens than even the greens I grow in my garden because they're 4 to 40 times more nutritious. That being said, you still should be eating a good quantity of those. You could go to visit farms near you, like Paul talked about. You could visit farms near you and pick the fruit off the tree when you feel it is ripe. I mean, I'm not just plucking any old apricots that are hard, man. I pick the ones at the top of the tree that almost fall off when I tug on them, and then I taste them to test, and they're like, okay, these are good. The other thing you could do is visit farmers markets near you and ask the farmer, when did you pick this? When did you harvest this? Because I know in some markets in Florida, they just may have resellers that are just buying stuff wholesale and then reselling it to you. So you got to ask the farmer and hopefully trust the farmer. And that's some ways you guys could just get some higher quality fruit than just going to the supermarket all the time.
Or online,
you can buy online if you got more money, because buying stuff online can get quite pricey.
Yeah, but it's cheaper than the medical.
Worth it.
It's cheaper than going to the doctor.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, but it's a great raw life, everybody. John and I have a lot of experience eating the raw vegan diet and this lifestyle, and we're just trying to help you all. We're not knocking fruit. We even though it might seem like we're not. But John, thank you for being here and keep up the great work. And if there's any other topics you would like to see John and I talk about, put that in the comments, and maybe we'll make another video on that specific topic. But I'm here with my sprouts. I got my fruits. I got my garden, and I got my TV screen to watch John and see what he has over there. And it's great. John and I have done many videos over the years on many different topics and going back and forth. And I love it every time. So thanks, John.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me out today. I look forward to visiting you soon. We can do another one of those collab videos. I remember that one video we did was like 2 hours. That was such a good video, and it should get more views.
Yeah, it should. And both of our thinking probably changed since then. So
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, no, because now I think I started eating some heat processed foods these days. So.
And I'm like full circle now. I started this with the Hippocrates diet, lifestyle, and sprouting, and I went full circle. And now I'm back like going crazy with sprouts and just the Hippocrates lifestyle kind of deal. So it's great, everybody. Put your comments or questions below. I'll put John's contact information below. Until then, everybody have a great day and a great raw life.